Hi everybody, I'm Roisin, the current Vice Chair of Drama at MIDAS this year, and the producer for this night of one-act rehearsed readings, which we are so excited to show you. I would like to thank the cast and crew for their constant dedication. This year has been a tough one for theatre, so we feel so proud to show you the work we've done. I'd like to remind everyone that tonight is a fundraiser for Simon and Crumlin. The link to our GoFundMe will be in the description to this video, so please donate anything you can. Finally, I would like to thank you, the audience, for your continuous support. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
But were we perfectly happy all night, over and over and all day, always alright?
I would like to stand by the sea. It's there. I have many times. It's something I cared for. I've done it. I'll stand on the beach. On the beach, well, it was very fresh, but it was hot in the dunes. But it was so fresh on the shore. I loved it very much. Lots of people. People move so easily. Men move. I walked from the dune to the shore. My man slept in the dune. He turned over as I stood. His eyelids, belly button, snoozing. How lovely. Would you like a baby? I said. Children. Babies of our own. Would be nice. Women turn and look at me. Our own child, would you like that? Two women looked at me, turned and stared. No, I was walking. They were still, I turned. Why do you look? I didn't say that. I stared. Then I was looking at them. I am beautiful. I walked back over the sand. He had turned. Toes under sand, head buried in his arms.
The dog is gone. I didn't tell you. I had to shelter under a tree for 20 minutes yesterday because of the rain. I meant to tell you, with some youngsters. I didn't know them. Then it eased. A downfall. I walked up as far as the pond, and I felt a couple of big drops. Luckily, I was only a few yards away from the shelter. I sat down in there. I meant to tell you. Do you remember the weather yesterday? That downfall.
He felt my shadow. He looked up at me, standing above him.
I should have had some bread with me. I could have fed the birds.
Sand on his arms.
They were hopping about, making a racket.
I lay down by him, not touching.
There wasn't anyone else in the shelter. There was a man and a woman under the trees on the other side of the pond. I didn't feel like getting wet. I stayed where I was. Yes, I'd forgotten something. The dog was with me.
Did those women know me? I didn't remember their faces. I'd never seen their faces before. I'd never seen those women before. I'm certain of it. Why were they looking at me? There's nothing strange about me. There's nothing strange about the way I look. I look like anyone.
The dog wouldn't have minded me feeding the birds. Anyway, as soon as we got in the shelter, he fell asleep. But even if he'd been awake...
They all held my arm lightly. As I stepped out of the car, or out of the door, or down the steps, without exception, if they touched the back of my neck or my hand, it was done so lightly, without exception. With one exception.
Mind you, there was a lot of shit all over the place. Along the paths, by the pond. Dog shit, duck shit, all kinds of shit. All over the paths. The rain didn't clean it up. Made it even more treacherous. The ducks were well away, right over on their island. But I wouldn't have fed them anyway. I would have fed the sparrows.
I could stand now. I could be the same. I dress differently, but I am beautiful.
You should have a walk with me one day. down to the pond. Bring some bread. There's nothing to stop you. I sometimes run to one or two people I know. You might remember them.
When I watered the flowers, he stood, watching me, and watched me arrange them. My gravity, he said. I was so grave, attending to the flowers. I'm going to water and arrange the flowers, I said. He followed me and watched, standing at a distance from me. When the arrangement was done, I stayed still. I heard him moving. He didn't touch me. I listened. I looked at the flowers, blue and white, in the bowl. Then he touched me. He touched the back of my neck. His fingers, lightly touching the back of my neck.
The funny thing was, when I looked and the show was over, the man and the woman on the trees on the other side of the pond had gone. There wasn't a soul in the park.
I wore a white beach robe. Underneath, I was naked. There wasn't a soul on the beach. Very far away, a man was sitting on a breakwater. Even so, he was only a pinpoint in the sun. And even so, I could only see him when I was standing, or on my way from the shore to the dune. When I lay down, I could no longer see him. Therefore, he couldn't see me. I may have been mistaken. Perhaps the beach was empty. Perhaps there was no one there. He couldn't see. My man. Anyway, he never stood up. Snoozing. How lovely, I said to him. But I wasn't a fool on that occasion. I lay quiet by his side.
Anyway,
My skin
sleeping all right these days.
was stinging.
Right through the night, every night.
I'd been in the sea.
Maybe it's something to do with the fishing. Can't learn more about fish.
Stinging in the sea by myself.
They're very shy creatures. You've got to woo them. You must never get excited with them or flurried. Never.
I knew there must be a hotel near, where we could get some tea.
Anyway, luck was on my side for a change. By the time I got out of the park, the pubs were open. So I thought I might as well pop in and have a pint. I wanted to tell you. I met some nut in there. First of all, I had a word with the landlord. He knows me. Then this nut came in. He ordered a pint and made a criticism of the beer. I had no patience with it.
But then I thought, perhaps the hotel bar will be open. We'll sit in the bar. He'll buy me a drink. What will I order? But what will he order? What will he want? I shall hear him say it. I shall hear his voice. He'll ask me what I would like first. Then he'll order the 2 drinks. I shall hear him do it.
This beer is piss, he said. Undrinkable. There's nothing wrong with the beer, I said. Yes, there is, he said. I just told you what was wrong with it. It's the best beer in the area, I said. No, it isn't, this chap said. It's piss. The landlord picked up the mug and had a sip. Good beer, he said. Someone's made a mistake, this fellow said. Someone's used this pint pot instead of the bog hole. The landlord threw half a crown on the bar, told him to take it. The pint's only 2 and 3, the man said. I owe you 3p, but I haven't got any change. Give the 3p to your son, the landlord said, with my compliments. I haven't got a son, the man said. Never had any children. I bet you're not even married, the landlord said. This man said, I'm not married. No one will marry me. Then the man asked the landlord and me if he would have a drink with him. The landlord said he'd have a pint. I didn't answer at first, but the man came over to me and said, have one with me, have one with me. He put down a 10 bob note I said he'd have a pint as well.
Suddenly I stood. I walked to the shore and into the water. I didn't swim. I don't swim. I let the water billow me. I rested in the water. The waves were very light, delicate. They touched the back of my neck.
One day, when the weather's good, you go in the garden, sit down. You'd like that, the open air. I'm often out there. The dog liked it. I put in some flowers. You find it pleasant, looking at the flowers. You could cut a few if you liked. Bring them in. No one would see you. There's no one there. That's where we're lucky, in my opinion, to live in Mr. Sykes' house in peace. No one to bother us. I've thought of inviting one or two people I know up in the village in here for a drink, once or twice. But I decided against it. It's not necessary. You know what we get quite a lot of out in the garden? Butterflies.
I slipped out of my costume and put on my beach robe. Underneath, I was naked. There wasn't a soul on the beach, except for an elderly man far away on a breakwater. I lay down beside him and whispered, "Would you like a baby? A child? Of our own? Would be nice."
What did you think of that downfall? Of course, the youngsters I met under the first tree during the first hour, they were larking about and laughing. I tried to listen to find out what they were laughing about, but I couldn't work it out. They were whispering. I tried to listen to find out what the joke was. Anyway, I didn't find out. I was thinking, when you were young, you didn't laugh much. You were grave.
That's why he'd picked such a desolate place, so that I could draw in peace. I had my sketchbook with me. I took it out. I took my drawing pencil out. But there was nothing to draw. Only the beach, the sea. Could have drawn him. He didn't want it, he laughed. I laughed with him. I waited for him to laugh. Then I would smile, turn away. He would touch my back, turn me to him. My nose creased. I would laugh at him a little. He laughed, I'm sure of it, so I didn't draw him.
You were a first-rate housekeeper when you were young, weren't you? I was very proud. You never made a fuss. You never got into a state. You went about your work. He could rely on you. He did. He trusted you to run his house, keep it up to mark. No panic. Do you remember when I took him on that trip to the north? That long trip. When we got back, he thanked you for looking after the place so well. Everything running like clockwork. You had missed me. When I came into this room, you stopped still. I had to walk all the way over the floor towards you. I touched you. But I had something to say to you, didn't I? I waited. I didn't say it then, but I made up my mind to say it. I decided I would say it, and I did say it next morning. Didn't I? I told you that I'd let you down. I've been unfaithful to you. You didn't cry. We had a few hours off. We walked up to the pond, the dog. We stood in the trees for a bit. I didn't know why you brought that carrier bag with you. I asked you. I said, what's in that bag? Turned out to be bread. We fed the ducks. Then we stood under the trees and across the pond. When we got back into the room, you put your hands on my face and you kissed me.
But I didn't really want to drink. I drew a face in the sand. Then a body. The body of a woman. Then the body of a man. Close to her. Not touching. But they didn't look like anything. They didn't look like human figures. The sand kept on slipping, mixing the contours. I crept close to him, put my head on his arm, and closed my eyes. All those darting red and black flecks under my eyelid. I moved my cheek on his skin. All those darting red and black flecks moving about under my eyelid. I buried my face in his side and shut the light out.
Mr. Sykes talked to us from the very first interview, didn't he? He said, I've got the feeling you'll make a very good team. Do you remember? And that's all we proved to be. No question. I could drive well. I could polish the shoes well. I earned my keep. Throw me hand to anything. He never lacked for anything in the way of being looked after. Mind you, he was a gloomy bugger. I was never sorry for him at any time for his lonely life. That nice blue dress he chose you for the house, that was very nice of him. Of course, it was in his own interest for you to look good about the house. For guests.
He moved in the sand and put his arm around me.
Do you like me to talk to you? Do you like me to tell you about all the things I've been doing? About all the things I've been thinking? I think you do.
And cuddled me.
Of course, it wasn't his own interest to see that you're attractively dressed about the house. To give a no impression to his guests.
I caught a bus to the crossroads and then walked down the lane by the old church. It was very quiet, except for birds. There was an old man fiddling about on a cricket pitch, bending. I stood out of the sun under a tree. I heard the car. He saw me and stopped me. I stayed still. Then the car moved again, came towards me slowly. I moved round the front of it in the dust. I couldn't see him for the sun, but he was watching me. When I got to the door, it was locked. I looked through at him. He leaned over and opened the door. I got in and sat beside him. He smiled at me. Then he reversed, all in one movement, very quickly, quite straight, up the lane to the crossroads. We drove to the sea.
For the end, you've a lot of people, you know, living in this house. Having this house all to ourselves. It's too big for two people.
He said he knew a very desolate beach that no one else in the world knew, and that's where we were going.
I was very gentle to you. I was kind to you that day. I knew you had a shock, so I was gentle with you. I held your arm on the way back from the pond. You put your hands in my face and kissed me.
All the food I had in my bag, I'd cooked myself, or prepared myself. I'd baked the bread myself.
The girl herself I considered unimportant. I didn't think it was necessary to go into details. I decided against it.
The windows were open, but we kept the hood up.
Mr. Sykes gave a little dinner party that Friday. He complimented you on your cooking and the service. 2 women, that was all. Never seen them before. Probably the mother and sister. They wanted coffee late. I was in bed. I fell asleep. I would have come down to the kitchen to give you a hand, but I was too tired. But I woke up when you got into bed. You were out on your feet. You were asleep as soon as you hit the pillow. Your body just fell back.
He was right. It was desolate. There wasn't a soul on the beach.
I had a look over the house the other day. I meant to tell you, just as bad, but I had to polish it up. We could go up to the Toronto, open the windows. I could watch all the canters. We could have a drink up there one evening. If it's a pleasant evening. I think there's moths. Move the curtain and they flew out.
Of course, when I'm older, I won't be the same as I am. I won't be what I am. My skirts, my long legs. I'll be older. I won't be the same.
At least now, I can walk down to the pub in peace and up to the pond in peace with no one to nag the shit out of me.
All it is, you see, I said, is the lightness of your touch, the lightness of your look, my neck, your eyes, the silence. That is my meaning. The loveliness of my flowers, my hands touching my flowers. That is my meaning. I've watched people. I've seen them. All the cars zooming by. Men with girls at their sides, bouncing up and down. They're dolls. They squeak. All the people were squeaking in the hotel bar. The girls had long hair. They were smiling.
That's what matters anyway. We're together. That's what matters.
But I was up early. There was still plenty to be done and cleared up. I put the plates in the sink to soak. They'd soaked overnight. They were easy to wash. The dog was up. He followed me. Misty morning comes from the river.
This fellow knew bugger all about beer. He didn't know I'd been trained as a cellarman. That's why I could speak with authority.
I opened the door and went out. There was no one about. The sun was shining. Wet, wetness all over the ground.
A cellarman is the man responsible. He's the earliest up in the morning. Give the drayman a hand with the barrels. Down the slide, through the cellar flaps. Lower them by rope. Down to the racks. Rock them on the belly. Put a rim up them. Use balance and leverage. Hike them up onto the racks.
Still misty, but thinning.
The bung is on the vertical, in the bung hole. Spile the bung. Hammer the spile through the centre of the bung. That lets the air through the bung. Down the bung hole, lets the beer breathe.
Wetness all over the air. Sunny. Trees like feathers.
Then you hammer it happen.
I wore my blue dress.
Let it stand for 3 days. Keep wet sacks over the barrels. Hose the cellar floor daily. Hose the barrels daily.
It was a beautiful autumn morning.
Run water through the pipes till the bar pumps daily.
I stood in the mist.
Pull off, stop pulling just before you get to the dregs. I tried to give you the shits. Got a Ulich barrel. We'd stop back to the Ulich barrel, send it back to the brewery.
In the sun.
Dip the barrels daily with a brass rod. Know your gallonage. Chalk it up, then you're tidy. Then you never get caught short.
Then I went back to the kitchen and sat down.
This chap in the pub said he was surprised to hear it. He said he was surprised to hear about holes in the cellar floor. He said he thought most cellars had a thermostatically controlled cooling system. He said he thought keg beer was fed with oxygen through a cylinder. I said I wasn't talking about keg beer. I was talking about more draft beer. He said he thought they piped the beer from a tanker into metal containers. I said they may do, but he wasn't talking about the quality of beer I was. He accepted that point.
The dog sat down by me. I stroked him. Through the window I could see down into the valley. I saw children in the valley. They were running through the grass. They ran up a hill.
I never saw your face. You were standing by the windows. One of those black nights. A downfall. All I could hear was the rain on the glass. Smacking on the glass. You knew I'd come in, but you didn't move. I stood close to you. What were you looking at? It was black outside. I could just see your shape in the window, your reflection. There must have been some kind of light somewhere. Perhaps just your face reflected, later than all the rest. I stood close to you. Perhaps you were just thinking in a dream. Without touching you, I could feel your bottom.
I remembered always, in drawing, the basic principles of shadow and light. Objects intercepting the light cast shadows. Shadow is deprivation of light. The shape of the shadow is determined by that of the object. But not always. Not always directly. Sometimes it's only indirectly affected by it. Sometimes the cause of the shadow cannot be found. But I always bore that in mind. Basic principles of drawing, so that I never lost track or heart.
You used to wear a chain around your waist. On the chain, you carried your keys, your thimble, your notebook, your pencil, your scissors. You stood in the hall and banged the gong. What the bloody hell are you doing banging that bloody gong? It's bullshit. Standing in an empty hall, banging a bloody gong. There's no one to listen. No one will hear. Not a soul in the house, except me. Nothing for lunch, nothing cooked, no stew, no pie, no greens, no joint. Fuck all.
So that I never lost track. Even when I asked him to turn, to look at me. But he turned to look at me, but I couldn't see his look. I couldn't see whether he was looking at me, although he had turned and appeared to be looking at me.
I took the chain off and the thimble, the keys, the scissors, slid off it and clattered down. I booted the gong down the hall. The dog came in. I thought you would come to me. I thought you would come into my arms and kiss me. Even offer yourself to me. I would have had you in front of the dog, like a man in the hall on a stone, banging the gong. Mind you don't get the scissors up your arse or the thimble. Don't worry. I'll throw them for the dog to chase. The thimble will keep the dog happy. He'll play with it with his paws. You'll plead with me like a woman. I'll bang the gong on the floor. Sound is too flat, lacks resonance. I'll hang it back up on its hook. Bang you against it, swinging, gonging, waking the place up. Call them off for dinner. Lunch is up, bring out the bacon, bang your lovely head. Mind the dog doesn't swallow the thimble. Salam!
He lay above me and looked down at me. He supported my shoulder. So tender, his touch on my neck. So softly, his kiss on my cheek. My hand on his rib. So sweetly the sand over me. Tiny, the sand on my skin. So silent, the sky in my eyes. Gently, the sound of the tide. Oh, my true love, I said.
We have what they call love. Remember the first time. We have what they call love.
Kitty, my hands have disappeared.
Pardon?
In the night, I could feel them seeping away. I woke up, held them up to the light shining through the blinds, and there they weren't.
But how are you holding the phone?
I can still touch, but they aren't there. They've gone.
How do you feel?
I'm frightened. Do you think they'll come back?
Must admit, this is the first time, to be honest. You've thrown me a bit.
What am I going to do?
Jimmy, no offense, but I'm a phone sex worker.
But you said you were going to be a psychologist, you said.
Maybe put the phone down and try calling 111.
When did Jimmy start to disappear?
This isn't just about Jimmy. There's Kitty.
And there's Mallory, robbery, losing your place in life, living with your mother, aspirations.
Fine. Okay. It started when Jimmy was at the drive-through donut.
No, before that.
Getting the sack again.
Before that. Masturbation.
Right. Precisely 7:30 p.m. on an unusually warm November night, Jimmy picked up his Samsung Galaxy.
Jimmy had considered having phone sex for a while.
In place of real sex? Or?
Not really in place of, because last time was a while ago.
A 34-year-old man sitting in his mother's house in Newport.
Lisa, his mother, was out.
He set up the phone next to the bed and a roll of toilet tissue.
Not exactly Amjax, but soft enough and strong enough to...
Good evening, this is Kitty. What should I call you?
Hector.
From Kitty's point of view, what followed was all very typical. Little did she know this was the start of a story for her too.
What are you wearing?
Underwear, bra, panties, you know?
What colour are they?
Red.
That's a tongue got later.
Yeah, it's very lacy.
Can you lick your own nipples?
I'll give it a go.
Oh, are you wet?
I got a lady boner.
Okay.
Standard,
I want you to.
standard stuff.
Kitty was not wearing a song.
She was in fact wearing sensible underwear.
Kitty was not wearing a lacy tracksuit.
Definitely not wet.
She did not have a lady boner.
While clients thought of her, Kitty thought of the cat. Jimmy rang the sex line every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m.
The same line, speaking to the same woman, Kitty.
It always started the same way.
What are you wearing?
Masturbating.
What are you doing now?
Masturbating.
What are you...
You get the gist.
At £1.20p a minute.
Minimum of 9 minutes duration.
Jimmy never went over the 9 minutes.
In fact, Jimmy was usually finished in about 3 minutes, leaving a little time to chat.
I'm successfully holding down a position in the booth, drive-through restaurant. Used to work at Panasonic for 12 years before they closed it down and moved the production down to Vietnam.
Right now, there's probably someone who looks just like you
A Vietnamese version.
working in a factory in...
Binh Duong province, soldering pieces onto a DR 765 board quicker than I ever could.
I'm sure you were very quick.
Oh, do you still live at home?
Let's talk about you, yeah?
Jimmy told her about his ex-wife, Janet.
Ended very badly with me. Her threatening to kill me with a kitchen knife after she caught me behind the co-op with Kira Davy. Only good thing to come out of me and Janet was our daughter, Mallory. Well, I haven't seen her so much recently.
When was the last time you...
4 years.
You haven't seen your daughter in 4 years?
Oh yeah, that's Jennifer. Yeah. She cut off all
He
access.
wanted to cut his cock off too, but this was the next best thing.
After spending precisely 9 minutes a week with Kitty,
For 8 months,
Jimmy fell in love with Kitty.
she too had become furious about him, though she would never admit it.
At Newport Nuts, Jimmy took the orders of the customers via a drive-through intercom.
He liked to pretend he was an air traffic controller or a police radio dispatcher.
Roger that. 2 iced donuts and a Pepsi Max. That'll be $3.10. Proceed to the next booth for payment. Roger.
Make it $8.10. Pay for the car behind.
Really?
Kitty wondered if the man she was talking to was Hector.
That's brilliant. That's made my day it has.
It's made my day to make someone's day. You're not going to just charge them anyway, are you?
I could, couldn't I?
You sound too interesting for that.
Interesting sounding. Me? That really has made my day.
A week later,
That'll be $3.10, please. You learn to land at the next window.
Make it $8.10. $5 for the car behind.
It's you again. Do you fancy going out sometime for a bite to eat? With me in person, like not here, somewhere less donut based.
They met for the first time
in person.
at a dimly lit cafe, Commercial Street, that sold everything for 50p.
My name's Shelley.
No, it's not. Your name's Kitty. Or is your name really Shelley? I suppose it is. Kitty does sound a bit fake.
No, it really is Kitty.
Say something.
What?
Go on. Say something.
Would you like to come on my tits? Yes, you would, you dirty boy.
He was spending so much time talking hands-free. Kitty had the inability to say anything quietly. The 50p cafe was all ears after that.
Hector thinks you have been mad, girl. Yes, you have. I'm not really called Hector, by the
Am
way.
I like you imagine?
I'm called... Oh, definitely.
She didn't look like how
Nor
Jimmy had
he
imagined,
her.
but she was pleasant looking. Nice eyes, a floral skirt.
Jimmy's tallness marked him out a bit, in a good way. He was no spring chicken, but he had freckles and a sort of bowl-shaped haircut.
So, why'd you do it?
Phone sex. Money. I'm saving up to do a degree.
Bit late for that, isn't it?
What?
Well, you've obviously been on the block a bit.
Jimmy wasn't very good at telling women what they wanted to hear.
He tried to recover.
It's meant that you give some of your money away at the drive-thru.
Only a little.
Do you often? Is this a regular thing?
You're the first client I've ever met in person.
Lucky me.
Kitty then had an urge.
Not a sexual one, like
She felt the urge to say,
I'm going to retrain as a psychologist, what I've always wanted to be. A way to really help people.
Sounds pricey. Anything that ends in ologist sounds pricey.
What do you want, Jimmy?
I'd like to take up gardening.
Why don't you?
No garden.
Why's that?
Do you have a garden?
Kitty rented a granny flat in a nice house in Malpass that was owned by Stephen, who liked to be called Steve. Kitty had seen him this morning on her way out.
I'm thinking of cutting the hedge into a new shape, Kitty.
What shape?
I don't know, an animal?
Maybe a squirrel, Steve-O?
Yeah. Maybe so.
What's he like, this Steve-O character?
He's solid.
Fat.
Of character. Type of bloke your mother would like.
You don't know my mother.
Jimmy felt the meeting was getting away from him, so he said,
Kitty,
Don't
What?
tell me you love me.
Don't be silly. I wasn't going to say that.
15 people had told Kitty they loved her. It happened while growing up in Cardiff, 12 times on the phone sex line.
in stages of pre
During
or post.
ejaculation. And then there was the Steve-O incident. Exactly a year ago, Kitty came home late. Steve-O had been waiting up for her. He'd been to a funeral reception for the chairman of the neighbourhood watch committee and drunk too much red wine. Steve-O was a tad over 5 feet tall, liked to wear tank tops, you know.
Are you okay, Steve-O? You crying?
Isn't it stupid, Kitty?
I didn't realize the firemen were so.
It was always there. We try not to think about death until someone actually dies.
Steve-O squared his shoulders, took both of Kitty's hands in his, and said,
I think I love you. Kitty had laughed it off, and Steve-O had never, ever mentioned it since.
of the 15 people that told Kitty they loved her, she had to admit Steve-O had touched her the most. But she really didn't believe any of them.
It was nice to meet you, Jimmy. Thanks for the tea.
The following day, it happened.
Not sex with Kitty. She really couldn't be bought with tea and cake.
Jimmy was made redundant.
Jimmy, after another day at his booth, is pulled aside by his boss, Peak.
When's that going to happen?
Today.
Like today?
You're on a 0 hours, yeah. The company doesn't really have to give any notice.
Not even.
Nothing. Nada. Zilch. 0.
Peak was such a cock.
I'm being replaced by a coin bin.
Jimmy was replaced by a coin bin.
Which has the advantage of lower traffic flow.
But it's impossible to pay for the car behind you. Over in Malpass, Kitty was paying Steve-O his rent.
The room was neat, but with an air of impermanence due to the number of boxes in it. Katie knew Steve-O sold stuff on eBay, but was curious about the cabinet in the corner.
The cabinet was filled with porcelain figurines.
You don't seem the type to collect dolls.
He did.
My wife, Alexa, started it, and it's funny what you can get into, isn't it?
Where is she, your wife?
She's happy. Has a son now.
He looked into Kitty's eyes.
Every time I look at the dolls, it reminds me of how easy it is to miss out in life. We always regret the things we don't do, not the things we do.
Kitty had to admit that Steve-O did sometimes make sense.
She went upstairs and immediately called the man who introduced her to the phone sex industry.
Andre, I need to see you. The offer you made me. Yeah, that one. I'd like to know more.
Kitty, my hands have disappeared.
Pardon?
In the night, I could feel them seeping away. I woke up, I held them up to the light through the blinds, and there they weren't.
But how are you holding the phone?
I can still touch, but they aren't there. They've gone.
How do you feel?
I'm frightened. Do you think they'll come back?
Must admit, this is the first time, to be honest. You've thrown me a bit.
Well, what am I going to do?
Jimmy, no offense, but I'm a phone sex worker.
But you said you were going to be a psychologist, you said.
Maybe put the phone down and try calling 111.
Oh, fuck that. Things have gone from bad to worse, Kitty. Yesterday I lost my job, and now I'm losing my hands. I got this feeling that this hand thing is just the beginning of the rest of me disappears.
Maybe this is just some kind of stress related.
What do I have to be stressed about? The thing that is stressing me is losing my hands.
And your job and living with your mom, and maybe, just maybe, it's related to your daughter.
Where the fuck is this coming from? I'm guilty. Of course I'm guilty. It's just... Can I see you? Just for a bit. I'll show you my hands. You'll see.
This is just a psychological...
It's not.
Okay, well maybe it's a symptom of something else. Of you being afraid of losing something. Think about it, Jimmy. And you know how much I've enjoyed our chats. But from next Wednesday, I won't be here. I'm taking a new line of work.
What do you mean, new line of work? Don't you dare say anyway to me. Tell me the truth.
I'm going to join an escort agency. If I work for them for 6 months, I'll have enough money for the course I want to do.
A prostitute.
escort.
Oh,
A
fuck.
high
This is about money, isn't it?
isn't everything.
You can't.
Sorry, Jimmy, our time's up.
Jimmy woke and checked his hands,
Still not there.
went to the bathroom.
Checked himself over in the mirror.
His left buttock had vanished.
Shit.
Later that day, on the phone to Rita, he casually mentioned,
I'm thinking of seeing Mallory. It's her birthday tomorrow.
You'll need to take a present.
I know. Mom, what happened with Dad? Did he disappear?
He did.
What happened?
God gives each relationship a certain amount of light, Jimmy. When that light is gone, then the love in that relationship dies. A bit like a candle. It can only burn for so long. Some lights can burn for a very long time. But for others, like me and your father,
Do you think that's true for people too? I really like candles. Do we have a certain amount of light? When it's gone, it's gone.
I don't know, Jimmy. Are you okay, love?
Jimmy watched Mallory. She was sitting, waiting, looking at the phone. Mallory was startled to look up and see Jimmy standing at the edge of our Coronation Park. He was holding a large box. She wasn't like he remembered. He rambled on for so long about looking forward to seeing her for ages.
Is there anything you'd like to ask me, Mallory?
Why are you wearing earmuffs?
Jimmy's ears had disappeared that morning.
Look like a right twat, don't I?
Jimmy moved forward, holding out the present.
Happy birthday.
Mallory continued to gently swing. Jimmy put the present on the ground.
Suppose you'll be out clubbing tonight. When I was your age, I was out every night. Then you miss a Friday, another Friday, and then Saturday. Then after a bit, it seems like you never go out. 18's not what it's like.
17.
What?
Today's my 17th birthday.
But 2nd of July, 1990.
At that, Mallory stopped swinging,
She dug her feet into the ground,
walked away,
stopped,
turned around,
came back,
picked up the present.
and left.
Kitty and Sibo sat together
Together.
for 42 minutes,
42 minutes.
with not a word. They were watching a particularly boring
Yet fascinating.
bout of safety play between Marco Fu and Mark Williams. 42 minutes and counting, without a word.
And this is the shocking bit. It didn't feel uncomfortable.
Christ on a bike.
Oh, Kitty.
Am I falling for Steve-O?
Mallory was sitting on one end of the seesaw.
With no one on the other end.
The previous night, bits of Jimmy had disappeared. Only his upper arms, shoulders, top of his chest, feet, and head
Minus his ears.
remained.
What are you doing in college?
Science.
Oh, what type of science?
Science.
Suddenly, Jimmy pressed down on the other end of the seesaw, lifting Mallory into the air and dumping her back down on the ground again.
Fucking hell!
Sorry, you're heavier than I thought.
Thanks a fucking bunch.
Mallory hoped whatever her dad had wasn't genetic.
Why'd you give me 171 donuts?
One for every one of your birthdays. 1 plus 2 plus
Up
3.
to 18.
Sorry about that. I want to put all your birthdays in one.
Let me down now.
Jimmy carefully got off his end and gently lowered his daughter to the ground.
What would you like to be when you leave college?
Qualifications don't get you nowhere these days. Just deeper in debt. It's money that matters.
Thank you, Mallory.
For what?
Mallory waits for a response, but doesn't get one.
I gotta go. I'll see you later.
Mallory walked off, turned, walked back and said,
Thanks for the donuts.
You know, Kitty, I only moved into this house because it was left to me by my uncle. Never really felt I belonged here. It's a funny town, isn't it? Newport. Never really felt I belonged here until I met you.
Steve opened the cabinet and brought out a saucer that seemed to radiate. He held it up to the light. In the porcelain was a...
Is that? That's meant to be.
But you might like it.
It's wonderful.
In the saucer, Kitty saw an image of herself.
If you hold the saucer to the light, you can see the picture better.
You can see right through me. Why? It's not my birthday.
I just thought it might be cool. Not like cool, but like,
Yeah,
you know.
it is cool. Thank you.
Kitty, your hands are shaking.
Steve-o,
I know what you do, Kitty. The phone sex line is just...
I'm giving that up. I'm getting a part-time job. Better paid, but I can't choose my hours.
You don't have to pay rent.
What do you think, that I'll sleep with you?
No, that's not...
I'm not a prostitute.
Of course, you're not.
The tears welled up in Kitty's eyes.
Look, by all means, get this part-time job, but if you don't have to pay rent, that means you can save up for that course you want to go on, and you could live here with me together. I mean, no strings attached. You know, you'd still have your space and I'd have mine, but we'd be companions.
Kitty cried. And Steve didn't know if this was a good or a bad thing.
Hello?
Hello.
Kitty, I was going to call you tomorrow. Look, I know what to do. Mallory gave me the idea. I know I'm disappearing, and I got a plan.
I look fantastic in porcelain.
Have you been drinking?
If you could choose to do anything, Jimmy, what would you do?
Jimmy wasn't sure what the fuck was going on, and if that's the case, you're better off saying fuck all.
You'd like to go to Alton Towers.
Jamie was right.
Kitty had started on a bottle of Pinot and moved on to the vodka that had been in her freezer since 2013.
You are, for a fully grown man with a wonderful haircut, oddly attracted to Euro Disney. You fancy a cycling holiday, lots of holidays, city breaks, and maybe the deep south. Come on, Jimmy, what do I want?
You want to go on a country and western night?
Definitely. You want to go some veg.
You intend to read more?
You think about poetry.
We read poetry to each other.
You eat more chips.
And kebabs.
Every now and again, we say, hang it, let's get away for the night. Go to a hotel.
You bring home all the small toiletries.
I start to use emojis in my text.
Oh, I hate that. We found out what all the trees are called.
Oh, same with the birds. Can you tell a sparrow from a chaffinch? Of course you fucking get.
We make love more.
All over the house.
And we're together.
Forever.
Jimmy was
Apart from
invisible,
his big toes.
so he knew he had to act now.
Or never.
Jimmy looked at himself in the mirror. Not that there was anything to look at.
It's warm. No need to put on clothes.
Jimmy kept the keys firmly in his right hand.
They seem to float of their own accord.
Into town, and as he walked down Church Street, it was quiet.
Newport Nuts closed at 10 p.m.
Jimmy let himself in via the side door.
He looked up at the security camera in the certain knowledge that no one could see him.
It was typical of Pete's shoddy management that the office was already open. Behind the desk,
Was the safe. Jimmy learned the combination when Pete let it slip last Christmas.
The safe door swung open, and in it lay the taking.
Exactly £4,807.
Jimmy didn't count it there and then.
He put it in a Newport's Nuts promotional bag and left the way he came,
Bag of cash swinging in the breeze.
much like his own nuts. Taking the reverse route back home,
Putting the bag under his pillow as he slipped under the covers.
he'd hardly slept a wink.
At 8:01 a.m., he dialed the number he knew off by heart.
This number is no longer in service.
Again, Jimmy dialed the number he knew so well. The same result.
This number is no longer in service.
That's what the conversation last night was about.
It was a vision of a future.
Not theirs.
It was a goodbye.
The last beautiful shaft of light.
No. Kitty, you can't be gone.
What happened to your face?
An accident.
Some fucking accident.
The air between them felt different.
What's in the bag?
Money.
Whatever you do, don't give it to me. I'll just waste it.
Have it if you want.
No.
I've been speaking with your gran, not saying that you have to do this. Well, we'd wondered if you want to come over to our house, maybe once a week.
Okay.
What?
Be nice to go somewhere different.
Jimmy thought it might happen now. Is this the moment when he disappears completely and the clothes he's wearing fall to the floor and his daughter leaves the park and carries on with her life?
See you in Ringland, yeah?
She walked away towards town and was gone.
You still looking for a house with a squirrel hedge in the front garden?
Yes, do you know one?
No, but the Major does. He lives in a nice house in Malpass, and I mentioned it, and he said that
It took Jimmy 27 minutes to run to Malpas.
Jimmy caught his breath in front of the red brick, semi-bordered by two giant squirrels locked in combat.
Jimmy knocked on the door.
It swung open.
Go away or I'll call the police.
Jimmy barged in.
Where is she?
Get out, I'm calling the police.
By the time Steve-O entered the living room, Jimmy was holding a saucer with Kitty's image in it.
The fuck is this?
Jimmy thought about hitting Steve-O, but punching a man in a tank top is worse than punching a man wearing glasses. Steve-O advanced, Jimmy pulled back and put up his arm. The saucer with Kitty's image in it was a barrier between them. Steve-O's mouth opened and became slack as the saucer slipped and tumbled from Jimmy's grasp. In slow motion, it dropped towards the ground before smashing on the beige carpet. The woman inside shattered.
Where is she, Steve-O?
Goes to show how much you know her. She's starting her new job tonight. And after she's finished, she's coming home. To me. Me and Kitty are going to make a go of it.
All the fight went out of Jimmy. Kitty was at her new job and he was about to disappear. He shut the garden gate and headed back the way he came.
Under the streetlights, he passed Aldi and a seagull shat all over the back of his dressing gown.
While wiping that off, he stepped in dog shit.
Oh,
He knew if he took his shoes off now, he'd only have one big toe left.
He was about to disappear without finding the woman he loved.
He knew where he would go to disappear. Newport Nuts.
Jimmy circled his former place of employment and then
Standing next to the coin bin where the intercom had devoured so many donut orders, stood Kitty. Jimmy dropped the bag of cash at his feet.
what are you doing here?
Fancy a donut, but
A notice on the door said, "Closed until further notice." The place was wrapped in black and yellow police tape.
I promise I'd never say this, but I love you.
Jimmy,
I love you. But I really am disappearing.
I believe you.
The red and yellow neon lights advertising Newport nuts then flickered, and died.
One by one, the street lights around Jimmy and Kitty went out.
Leaving only the moon and stars as weak illumination.
Tell me.
What?
Anything, Kitty. Please just tell me.
As Kitty spoke, Jimmy closed his eyes and settled into the tones of familiar sound.
There was a girl. Let's call her Catherine. And when she was around 15 years old, if she could have flicked a switch and it meant she didn't exist, she would have done so.
As she spoke, Jimmy removed his clothes. He took off his earmuffs and hat in one swift motion. Jimmy took off his dressing gown.
Catherine chose to lose herself. Since she was a little girl, she turned away from everything.
His stupid glasses and tracksuit top.
When she got a bit older, she was wild, on purpose. That's how people who can't be loved act, isn't it? It's difficult to be close to people when you're feeling like you want to disappear. As an adult, Catherine did a job where she doesn't meet anyone, slipping between the cracks of a town that slips between the cracks. She's kind to strangers she can never meet and dreams of studying for a course that analyzes what people do instead of actually doing anything herself. She doesn't feel part of anything, and no one understands. Until she meets
Jimmy
someone.
took off his floral scarf from around his head, with 2 holes poked out of it for him to see. Kitty undid the buttons on her shirt.
Her shirt off. Her shoes. His trainers. His tracksuit bottoms, her skirt and tights.
He took off his pants. She took off her pants and bra, until there was nothing left. A pile of clothes at his feet.
A pile of clothes at hers.
See me, Kitty.
He reached out a hand.
Jimmy touched it, their fingers creating a bridge.
Light flowed from Kitty into Jimmy and spilled out and filled the car park.
Their light illuminating the surrounding streets.
An effervescent glow radiating outwards and outwards until the whole town took on its glow.
Jimmy and Kitty were made of light, from head to toe to fingertip.
Burning brightly in the center of the universe.
In the car park of a drive-through donut restaurant in Newport.
If I was young, I'd flee this town. I buried my dreams underground, as did I. We drink to die. We drink to
Early? I saw your car standing there and I thought, he's early.
It didn't take as long as I thought.
Shitty weather.
Yeah.
Is the weather this shitty where you are too?
Where we are?
In Normandy, I mean.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. You haven't changed a bit.
Oh, well, don't look too closely.
I only got it the day before yesterday.
I didn't know if you get it on time.
I meant to phone you, but to say I was coming, but I'm not much of a phoner.
No. I've noticed.
But I'm here.
Yes, you're here. You've been here long?
20 minutes, half an hour at most.
Have you already been to his grave?
Yeah, it looks lovely.
I do my best.
It's quiet here.
It usually is in cemeteries.
Well, not many people, I mean.
Perhaps no one's died this week?
Sorry?
That's why it's so quiet.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, anyway, they probably won't be burying any more people here, will they? You know, considering the situation.
No, probably not. No,
Are we the only ones at this meeting?
they wanted to speak to everyone personally.
Oh, okay. So, don't you want to sit down?
In a minute, I've got bulbs in the car, tulip bulbs. I wanted to plant them.
No?
Yes, or in a while when it's less wet.
Right. So, here we are then.
Yes, here we are then.
I don't really know what to say.
Neither do I.
You look good.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I do.
That's nice. It's nice of you to say so, even though you probably don't mean it.
I do mean it.
Well, then it's even nicer of you. You too.
What?
You look good too.
Oh, thanks.
France is doing you good, obviously.
Yeah, it probably is. Shall we sit down?
Fine.
Nothing's changed here then.
No,
Except that enormous hedge is gone, I noticed.
too much. Upkeep, same with rose bushes in the middle. Someone's got to take care of them and that all costs too much.
I thought it might have been the poison.
No, it's nothing to do with poison.
Ridiculous, huh?
Dreadful.
And they've only just found out about it.
They're talking about moving 200 graves.
200?
It was in the newspaper.
So it is as bad as it said in the paper.
Probably, yes.
I thought it wasn't all that serious. I mean, it said it wasn't a public health risk.
It's in the groundwater. That's what it said, didn't it?
Yeah, well, whatever. I expect we'll find out soon enough. Would you like a drink? Coffee, tea, water?
No, thanks.
Well,
What?
they've got espresso, double espresso, cappuccino, and latte.
Yes, that's new.
Not bad. Do you think they'll come and get us?
No idea. I'm finding this difficult.
Let's see what the options are first of all.
No, I mean sitting here together, waiting, having to sit here waiting, and not having seen you for years. And you not having any idea who I am, and me not knowing how many idea who you are, and not knowing what to say, and absolutely bursting for a pee.
You should just go to the loo then.
Yeah, sorry.
Hello? Is anyone there? Is anyone there? Oui. Oui, c'est moi. Non, je suis arrivé. Non, ça va? Elle n'est pas ici, master. Dans la toilette. Oui, la toilette. J'ai aucune idée. Je te rappelle plus tard, bien? Merci moi aussi. Oui. À plus tard.
Really? So, you don't think I've changed?
Not really.
Not at all.
You've got older.
Yeah, what do you expect?
I mean, figuratively older. Wiser. Wiser.
Wiser.
Yeah.
If only.
I'm glad to see you. You know, on the way here, I kept thinking, how will she look? You know, how will she look now? You know, I couldn't stop thinking about the first time I ever saw you.
That's 20 years ago?
Couldn't get it out of my head. I hope you're glad to see me too.
Do you know what I find strange? That things only happen when it doesn't really matter anymore, when you don't really need it anymore.
Are you talking about me?
Partly.
So it doesn't really matter to you that I'm here.
That's not what I said.
It's exactly what you said.
But I didn't mean it like that.
You don't need me anymore.
No, that's positive, isn't it? Not needing something anymore if you can do without it. Not be dependent. I mean it in a positive way.
So, are you glad that I'm here or not?
I'm very glad you're here, that we're here now, together, washed ashore, so to speak.
Do you feel washed ashore?
Yeah, well, no. In some way or other, yes.
In what way then?
Just, yeah, forget I said it. It's more metaphorical.
Where are you going?
I'm going to go see if I can find someone. I mean, it's nearly 2:15.
I just heard a door.
Where?
Back there somewhere. It's locked.
Hello? Is anyone there? Mr. Alavinia?
Are you sure it was here?
That's what it said in the letter.
Zreeder Planchung 24 to 28.
That's here. "31st of December 2011. It's a long time ago, eh?
Yeah.
31st of December 2011.
I know.
At 7:10.
You still know what time it was?
The door closed. I looked up at the clock. 7:10. I can't help it. I'll just never forget it.
I'm sorry.
Did you actually do that evening?
I drove to Columbia.
Your mother's holiday house?
Yeah. You know, a bit before midnight, I stopped in a car park just outside Nancy. I was the only car there.
I watched the sky above Nancy light up.
There was only light, no sound. I thought that was so strange, that I didn't hear anything. Nancy had entered the new year in silence, as far as I could hear. Yeah, well, actually, all sorts of things. I wanted to ring you, but then I thought, idiot, you can't just walk out on a day like today and then go and ring her at midnight. So I didn't ring.
I know.
It's funny, actually. Well, funny. I can't help noticing more and more how often you do things without really wanting to.
Are you talking about that evening?
No, yeah. Well, I mean in general, for myself, that it's funny how often I do things without really wanting to, and don't do what I actually want to do. That evening too, I think, yeah.
You don't need to apologize.
I'm not. It's more of an insight that comes after the event. We probably all get to the same place in the end.
Is that so?
Same conclusion, I think.
And what is that conclusion then, according to you?
We do what we'd rather not do, and don't do what we'd rather do. That makes you laugh.
Yes, to hear you say that, I think it's funny.
Oh,
It is funny, isn't it?
if you say so.
Are you getting touchy? You're not going to start getting all touchy, are you?
No,
But
but nothing. Just
don't you think it's bizarre seeing each other here after all these years? I do. I think it's bizarre. It's bizarre how things turn out.
you could see it like that, yeah.
What would you call it then?
I haven't given it that much thought.
You haven't given it that much thought.
No, I haven't given it that much thought, no.
You see me for the first time in 10 years in
9
this
years.
place, and you haven't given it that much thought.
No.
Unbelievable! Is there anything you have given that much thought? Like what we're going to do if this is all true? If those 200 graves do need to be moved? What we're going to do then, where he's supposed to go?
I want to hear what they've got to say first, what the options are, and the costs, of course.
The costs?
There are bound to be costs.
We're talking about Jacob's reburial, and you're talking about the costs.
I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean it like that. Not how you just said it.
How then?
I just meant it in general. Please, please don't do this. You know I didn't mean it like that. It's ridiculous to act as if I meant it like that.
I'm starving. Got a bit of chocolate here somewhere.
You used to be addicted.
Yeah.
Are you still?
Trying to cut down. Do you want some?
I've already had 3 bars.
Did you know that I got addicted to sleeping pills? The doctor said That it wouldn't matter, that it was perfectly normal for a woman like me after everything I've been through. Perfectly normal, those sleeping pills. I mean, that's reassuring, isn't it? That it won't get out of hand, the addiction. No such luck.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Do you know what the worst thing is about an addiction? How
Hard it is to
easy
break
it
one.
is to develop one. You start with a half, and then another half, and then a whole one, but not every night. No, not unless it's really necessary, and it is really necessary, of course. Everything becomes really increasingly necessary. Things that come in pots and handy blister strips, and before you know it, you're taking one every night.
That's the way it goes, yeah.
For a long time, I hoped that you could really put things behind you.
And then?
And then start again, of course. Yeah, it's a load of rubbish. It's never the same again, no matter how hard you try. New job, new house, new friends.
It's never the same again.
No.
Is that what you'd like? Raise everything.
And start again, yes.
Where would you begin?
Where?
Yeah. Where would you begin? On what day? What exact moment would you start raising? How would you know that what came next would be any better?
That's a stupid question.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way.
I miss him. I don't miss him any less than I ever did. Is that crazy?
No.
And you? Do you still miss him?
I think about him every day, if that's what you mean.
I mean, do you still miss him?
I don't know what I'm supposed to miss.
So you don't miss him?
I'm resigned to it.
That he's not here anymore?
That I miss him. Every day. Suffering's addictive, don't you think? There should be rehab centers for it. With compulsory admission.
Is that what you think?
Sounds a bit weird, maybe? Yeah.
Weird? No, not that weird. More like heartless. Maybe heartless isn't the right word for it either. More like detached, as if it's not personal. I don't mean to you. I mean to the journalist, your journalistic opinion, yes, and a male opinion too. A male journalistic opinion about life and suffering.
What is this male journalistic opinion then exactly?
The idea that you're in control of your own life and in control of your own suffering too.
But don't you believe that then? To a certain degree.
No, I don't believe it, no. Do you think it makes any difference what you do or what you don't do, whether you're rewarded or punished, or even worse, that it gets you anywhere to ask, what do I need to learn from this? It makes me want to puke, that question, what do I need to learn from this? Nothing. That life's shit. Sometimes for some people really shit for completely unexplainable reasons.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that.
Fine. Makes you thirsty, chocolate. Tell me, why haven't you been in contact contact for 10 years.
You want to know that now?
Did you have another moment in mind, a better moment perhaps?
It's not something you can just, that I can just, here and now. You mean right here, right now? I've got to explain.
You must have thought about it.
Yes.
Or maybe you'd rather say why you left in the first place.
You know very well why I left.
Do I?
Yes.
A bit of explaining doesn't hurt, you know.
And then, if I explain, what then? Or if I say I'm sorry, does it make any difference?
Sometimes it's not even right prospectively.
Being sorry is not the same as being right.
So you really give it a lot of thought, eh? Sorry, I'm a bit fucked up. It's this whole mess here.
You could go outside for a bit. Go for a walk.
In this weather.
You used to like the rain. Walking in the rain?
Yes.
Well then,
I'm not sure.
I'll go on my own then.
Don't.
What?
No, nothing. I'll just stay here and see if I can find someone.
I'll be right back.
Yes, of course.
My world is dust now, and all I loved is dead. Oh, let me trust now in what my master said.